This week on Supercars Talk, there's a surprise winner and Albert Park shows us some good racing. The big news this week is another hat update. 3 drivers have been excused from wearing a Boost mobile hat if they get pole position. The 3 are Mostert, who is sponsored by Optus, and then Feeney and Reynolds, who are both sponsored by Vodafone. They don't have to wear their Boost hats if they get pole position. A bit of comedy there from Cam Waters the other day when he got pole position and he asked for his Boost mobile hat. But don't stress, Peter Adderton has reduced his spend because the 3 drivers don't have to wear those hats. So once again, even though it wasn't really a thing to be in the news this week, Boost Mobile has got itself on the news and the top news story on Supercars Talk once again. Well played, Pete. Well played. Now, last week, one of the things I didn't cover off very well, meaning I forgot to actually mention it, was that I think the Australian Grand Prix contract with Supercars is up this year. I think this was the final one, the contract of the current deal. So that was another big thing against the Supercars probably continuing with the Grand Prix, because they've spent so much money getting F2 and F3 down to Albert Park that then there's probably not much money left in the kitty to pay Supercars, and if you're not getting a good sanctioned fee and you're getting shunted out to the back, that's probably another reason you don't want to turn up. Now, my mood has changed a little bit after the racing was extremely good this weekend. Who would have thought, take away pit stops, that the racing would have improved so much? Now, maybe it would have been quite as good with the pit stops in there, who knows, but that's probably the biggest thing that we took away this weekend, and the racing was spectacular. It did keep me entertained basically all the way through. You didn't quite know what was going to happen. The battles in the mid-pack, out of control all weekend. There was something to see. Once again, I was there on the Thursday, Friday. Of course, Supercars were the main draw on the Thursday, so people were definitely paying attention when they were out on track. I did find on Friday, the interest probably wasn't there as much as what I'd noticed in previous years. Having said that, F3, no one, we were some of the first in the, I had a corporate box, I had a corporate ticket on the Friday. We were some of the first people. There was only 3 or 4 people in the box before us on the Friday, and we turned up as the F2 were kicking off. So that gives you an idea of how many people turned up for the F3 session on the day, or their first session of the day. I can tell you, in my box, no one got out of their seats when the F3 was out. There were a few people who got up and had a bit of a look with the F2. Supercars, there was a portion of people that got up to watch the start of the race. People were more paying attention when the Supercars were out there. Once again, the majority were there for Formula Ones, and that was where all the interest was. But just once again going off, it probably wasn't as strong as in previous years, but definitely Supercars were where I was sat. Supercars were definitely the second top draw card there, a long way behind Formula One though, and F2 was still not a lot of interest. People didn't really even care with F3. I don't think if it wasn't for that they were so noisy, people probably wouldn't have even turned their heads on those. I will say though, I am disappointed that Supercars didn't have the pit garages, especially considering that F2 did not use those pit garages for their pit stop race. They did continue to use the F1 pit lane, so it doesn't quite make sense why that was taken away. I do think if we do go back to the Grand Prix though, that we should have probably more feature race on the Thursday, Friday, and then the quicker sprints, and probably with a longer feature race on the Thursday, Friday in our proper pit lane, with some pit stops, and then the Saturday and Sunday have a very quick sprint race, kind of the 15 laps. I was disappointed. 3 of the 4 races were cut short due to scheduling issues, But having said that, it didn't take away from the races like it probably has in previous years. You still felt like you got a good race, whereas in previous years, sometimes it's felt like that the race has really been cut short. There was a lot of on-track action. There was a lot happening. So overall, I'm happy with the Grand Prix. I'd be happy to go back. The pit garage situation was not good from a fan point of view, not being able to get near the pit garages. I did get in to see the pit garages though. I was very impressed with their size. The supercars were looked after very well. If anything, the pit garages are probably a little bit bigger than what they normally get there, so that was impressive. But I've probably softened a bit on my stance from last week. I won't be disappointed if we see supercars back at the Grand Prix again next year. Basically because the racing was good this time around. Now, just the last little thing to cover off before we get into the rundown of the weekend. There was a couple of new liveries over the weekend, and we love talking about liveries around here. Brad Jones Racing, two kind of fails. Now, the SpongeBob SquarePants Macaulay Jones livery, amazing in photos. Out on track though, who knows what was going on. It just looked like yellow going around the track. You had no idea what was going on. I saw the first couple of sessions on Thursday. No idea. In between times, I'd grabbed a grandstand seat. You could walk around on the Thursday and go and sit in any grandstand. That was an awesome feature. I'm not sure if they've done that in previous years, but that's the first time I've taken advantage of it. Anyway, that was great. Got to try out some grandstands. Thumbs up on that one as well, Grand Prix Corporation. But I had no idea what was going on with that car, and I sat there and actually flicked a bit through the old Insta books during a gap between sessions and saw the photos of it. Oh my God, looks amazing in the photos. On track, it failed. Even on watching on TV over Saturday and Sunday, couldn't really pick it up on TV. So very, very disappointing. That would have been a very big draw card, I think, if fans could have got close to the teams there and seen it in person. But yeah, it did not work watching from the track or on TV. It only worked in photos. And Brad Jones Racing, also Andre Heimgartner's car, the Wendy's bonnet on there, the blue just totally clashes. Wrong, didn't look good. It looked wrong out on track. It looked wrong on TV. Okay, sometimes sponsors and they want their colours and everything like that, but that one did not hit the mark at all. Anyway, on to the rundown of the results over the weekend. Kicking it off once again, Blanchard Racing. Courtney started off the weekend strong with an 8th on Thursday, but just seemed to be in the middle of all the midfield melee all weekend. He finished 23rd, 11th and 16th in the other races. Love was pretty much the same, just getting in those midfield melee kind of crashes and everything. He had poor results though. At least he was mixing it in the pack. The results don't show how much he was mixing it in the pack. He had a 12th on Sunday, so there is some speed there. Big bonus though, they've moved ahead of the BJR B team in the championship standings, but still get brought up first here because of the BJR A team bringing up their results overall. Dick Johnson Racing. How the mighty have fallen. It's hard to believe now. Anton qualified on the front row for Thursday's race. He actually led off the start there, but then just kind of started to fall back through the field off that. Finished 7th overall, and then it went downhill. DNF on Friday, 16th on Saturday, and then did not even start on Sunday with suspension dramas. His teammate Will Davison, on the other hand, missed a quiet all weekend, getting himself into the top 10 of the championship. His results were 14th, 5th, 14th and 6th over the weekend. Not brilliant by any stretch. We still expect a lot more from Dick Johnson Racing, but he's looking a lot better than his teammate right now when they are looking to, well, they're going to replace at least one driver at the end of the year, if not two. Brad Jones Racing. I think their weekend was best summed up by the 4-car inter-team battle on Saturday that was for 21st to 24th position. Ultimately, they did finish 18th to 21st, but there was 2 DNFs and Randall got shunted off track, as he did a lot over the weekend. Is he looking for a Jim's Mowing franchise? Anyway, Forward did show some qualifying pace. He had a couple of top 10 starts over the weekend, but there was no race pace to go with that qualifying pace. Just dropped like a stone. Overall, Heimgartner had the best result of the 4 cars all weekend, which was 14th. 14th from Heimgartner. He was my dark horse for the weekend. Anyway, they dropped to 9th and last in the team's championship. Fullwood is their leading driver in the championship, 14th position also. That's not what they would have been expecting at the start of the year. Jackson Evans, though, for a rookie, at least he is battling it with his teammates. He's not falling behind. So if you're looking for some positives, well, that's one. Premier Racing. The most notable part of their weekend was probably Slade pushing Percat home on Sunday after he'd run out of fuel. The results, they weren't so bad. They're just, once again, very anonymous. Slade was 15th, 10th, 8th and 10th over the weekend. Golding, not quite as impressive as his teammate, 23rd, 16th, 12th and 11th. They still need some work to do there. Tickford Racing. Thomas Randall, probably a weekend to forget, just seemed to be on and off the grass all weekend. If he wasn't punting someone off, he was getting punted off himself. Sunday though, missed it all, raced through and finished 4th position. But he was just surrounded by too much grass cutting and too many penalties over the weekend. Waters, on the other hand, started off 5th on Thursday. Things were looking even better on Friday with pole position, but then he dropped back through the field a bit, ended up finishing 7th. Saturday was 2nd and 3rd in qualifying sessions, but then he ended up tangling with Matt Payne early on in the race while they were battling for the lead. He pushed Payne coming in. Payne did whatever Payne did, and that was the end of the day. But then that also wrecked his Sunday race because he was carrying damage on the car. They couldn't fix the car fully overnight, so he carried the damage into Sunday. Just wasn't a good race from him. If you want to challenge for the championship, you can't get yourself involved in incidents like that, unfortunately. Walkinshaw Andretti United. Unfulfilled promise, Chaz Mostert. The speed was there, but just too many incidents and errors over the weekend. Granted, Percat sent him off on Thursday, which that caused, he did fight back from that, but that wasn't his fault. Sending Payne off on Sunday, that was his fault. He'd finished 4th overall. It's not bad. There was a lot of pace. He is sitting 3rd in the championship, but if he wants to challenge for the championship, you can't have these little errors and getting involved in other incidents and things like that. The Triple8 guys are now over 100 points away from him. It's starting to slip away already. Ryan Wood is having the rookie year I fully expected from him. Lots of speed and lots of mistakes. Highlight, he got 10th place on Saturday, and he did actually score points this weekend as well, which was a big improvement over how he finished at Bathurst. But then 30-second penalty in the final race, which he was battling Cam Hill for, I think it was 8th position at the end of that race. Punted him off. 30-second penalty. He finished right down the back from there. Erebus. It's very hard to judge these two. If you compare to what they were doing in 2022, amazing. Compared to 2023 though, and it's just disappointments all round. Hazelwood was 8th overall for the weekend. They both had 3 finishes inside the top 10. Sunday was not a good day for them, but 15th for Todd. He was punted off by Courtney, and DNF for LeBrock after being randalled. Those two races weren't their faults, and they were still running. Within that, they probably would have finished in the top 10 in every race had they not had those disappointments in the Sunday race. So overall, a very positive weekend. But these guys, Brody Kostecki had his first win here last year, so that's kind of what we're expecting from Erebus. Matt Stone Racing. The Nicholas Percat from BJR is back. Even after nudging Chaz off in that Thursday race and getting a penalty that ultimately did cost him a podium position, he didn't get his head down all weekend, finished 6th, 9th, and then the win on Sunday, 1st. Even bad qualifying for Saturday's race, he raced through the field. There was just pace there all weekend. There was a few little niggles in there, but overall, this is just peak kind of Percat. If he can continue like this, the sky is the limit. It was pretty much only the Triple 8 boys really had pace over him all weekend. He was a match kind of for your Mostert Waters Pains. He was right in that secondary battle all weekend. I'm pretty proud that I recommended him to Matt Stone Racing for this position for this year. Probably the biggest blot on the copybook all weekend was running out of fuel on the cool down lap on Sunday and then having to be pushed home by Slade. The car didn't get to see the Parc Fermé there at the podium at the end. He had to do that dash down pit lane, go for the big run there. But this guy, most people had written him off last year. And what a weekend. Cam Hill, very, very up and down weekend. But at least he is showing lots of pace. That Sunday he was battling for 8th position there on the last lap where Ryan Wood punted him off. As I said, at least there's pace in the car. You can fix some of these issues if you've got pace. He's definitely not dragging the team down on that side of things. Just needs to not get involved in some of these silly little incidents, really. Team 18. Frosty was on the podium on Friday. The rest of the weekend, very middle of the road from him, but it was enough to finish 5th overall. Reynolds was 7th overall. That puts the team 3rd in the team's championship. Didn't think I'd be saying that at this point of the year. I expected Frosty to probably slide a bit more this year and Reynolds probably to ramp up but take about half a season to get up to speed. Probably using a bit of maturity there from both of them, using their heads and not getting involved in a lot of the silly incidents. I didn't really have many notes from these guys all weekend, showing that they just didn't get themselves in trouble. So good weekend overall. Grove Racing. Matt Payne started off the weekend with 2 podiums and then crashed out of 2 races. Not all of the incidents were his fault, but he's still getting himself involved in incidents. I was expecting a lot more of like this from him last year, where he just didn't get himself involved. And now he is starting to. A bit fortuitous on Thursday that Percat got the penalty, picking up that podium. And how lucky was he on Friday with that broken spoke? Apparently that happened on the, I think it was the first lap of the race, and he went all the way through with the broken spoke on the wheel. Very, very lucky boy there. Teammate Richie Stanaway. He's just impressing me by stealth. I expected him to probably the other way around, show lots of speed but get involved in a lot of incidents. He stayed out of trouble all weekend. I don't recall him really, there's a bit of bump and shove, but I don't remember him actually like punting anyone off or kind of being punted off. His results were 12th, 13th, 7th and 8th over the weekend, 9th overall for the weekend, and sits 6th in the championship, which puts the Groves 2nd in the teams championship. And finally, the team of teams, Triple8. Yeah, what do you say? Not much went wrong all weekend. Their worst qualifying positions were 6th and 9th in the Sunday race, and probably that was when their worst finishes came of 2nd and 3rd. They shared the wins over the first 3 races. They had a 1-2 in 2 of the races. They're 100 odd points off away from Mostert in the Drivers' Championship. You can basically give them the Teams' Championship. 438 point lead over the Groves already. It's just ridiculous. The biggest thing this year, I think, is going to be how the teammate battle plays out, whether they end up hating each other, and whether, you know, we start fighting for sheep stations. But yeah, there's not much improvement that you can do there. They probably even kind of had the pace on Percat towards the end of the race there on Sunday, but they were fighting back from that bad qualifying session that really wasn't that bad. So that's my Albert Park review. I was very happy with the racing all weekend. Albert Park, you can come back on the calendar next year if you like. Down in the comments, let me know, what did you think of the racing over the weekend? How happy are we all that Nick Percat is back on the winners rostrum? But until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.